Hi everybody, welcome to ESSYCOOKS. In this video, we're going to be making a sun-dried tomato pesto, which is one of my favorite ever sauces for the summer, for the winter, whenever. You can get sun-dried tomatoes in the jar, in the oil, and you can use them any time of the year. This is one of my favorite date night recipes. We love having pasta with sun-dried tomato pesto. I just think it's so flavorful and so delicious, and if you haven't tried it yet, I'm super excited for you guys to try this. Now in this version, we're going to be using almonds, but you can use pine nuts if you like. You can switch it up, but I absolutely love this sauce and I'm super excited for you guys to try this. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how fast and easy it is to make this. So the first thing we're going to need are some sun-dried tomatoes. I like the ones that are in oil. They just come in a glass jar like this. I'm going to remove the oil from those. I'm just going to drain the oil off and get 1 cup of those sun-dried tomatoes. And I'm going to put it straight into my food processor. So we're going to be making this whole thing in a food processor. Then I've got 1/2 cup of almonds. I chose roasted almonds, but if they're not roasted, that is totally fine. I'm going to add those on top. And then 1 to 2 cloves of garlic. Now my food processor, this little mini one that I have here, is not the best, so I'm just going to pre-mince the garlic to make sure that that is going to be really evenly distributed and we're not going to get like a big chunk of garlic in there. Just makes it a little bit faster and easier, but if you have a good quality food processor, you will not have to do that. Now I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, or you could use vegan parm, and I'm going to save my basil till later because I don't want to over process it. I want it to be really nice. So I'm going to add 1/4 cup of oil, either from the sun-dried tomatoes or olive oil. I'm using the oil that came with my sun-dried tomatoes. It just has such a good flavor. Now I'm going to put the lid back on the food processor and I'm going to start just blending that up. Now we don't want to over process it because I still want it to be a little bit textured, but this does take a little while here. So I'm going to add some salt and pepper, which I could have done earlier, I just forgot. And I'm going to add a little bit more oil if needed. Pesto typically has quite a bit of oil in it. However, it's very condensed, so it does serve a lot of people, so it's not as much oil as you might think. Now we're going to process that up again until we're getting the consistency that we want there, and then I'm going to add in my basil. This is optional if you don't have fresh basil, like if it's not the summertime, you're making this in the winter, it's no problem. Yes, it changes the flavor, but it's still so incredibly delicious with or without basil. So, you know, if you don't have fresh basil on hand, that's fine. You can just process this until you get your desired consistency. I like to have it a little bit of a grainy texture, just like this. You can see here, you can still see a bit of texture from all of those ingredients. So there's still a bunch of stuff to share about this pesto on how you can keep it and everything like that. Look at that beautiful consistency. So I'm going to put this in a jar, but this total thing serves about 6 to 8 people. I've actually served 8 people with this and it was no problem because it is very condensed. You can store it in the freezer for up to 3 months in an airtight container. If you want to use, instead of almonds, you could use 1/4 cup of pine nuts. You could use some walnuts. If you're storing it in the fridge, you're going to want to cover the top with a little bit of oil to keep it fresh, but really it would only last up to a week, and make sure you keep that oil on top fresh. And if when you're serving it, what you want to do is add a little bit of that pasta reserve water to make sure that the consistency is going to be really good. That's just going to help spread the pesto out, and it's a great little source of starch, and it just makes your sauce absolutely amazing and delicious. Now stay tuned, I'm about to taste test. Okay, it's time to taste this. I've got a little bit left here in my food processor. I'm just going to give it a little taste just to see. And when we add it into our pasta, of course, we're going to add a little bit of pasta reserve water from cooking our pasta, and that's just going to make this spread so perfectly evenly over all the noodles. It adds that nice little bit of starch and it just makes them perfect. Let's try this. That is so good. This is seriously my favorite sauce. I mean, I love all the pasta sauces, but this one is it. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video on how to make a vegan sun-dried tomato pesto. If you guys like this video and you want to see more videos like this one, just make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below.